Before we dive deep, here's a quick preview of what we're working with. Monday opens with some real friction. Venus squaring Uranus, the moon squaring Saturn. That sets the emotional stage rather than resolving anything right away. Tuesday brings the week's emotional anchor, the new moon in Cancer at 3:43 a.m., right alongside Mercury retrograde in the same sign, followed by the moon shifting into a much brighter Leo by evening. Midweek eases up considerably, with Uranus and Neptune cooperating on Wednesday and a healing Chiron trine on Thursday as the moon settles into Virgo. Then Friday delivers the week's biggest headline, a rare Uranus-Pluto trine at 10:43 p.m., offering real transformation without the usual upheaval. And we close the week on an unusually harmonious note, with Sunday morning bringing a whole cluster of easy moon aspects that make for one of the most peaceful stretches we've seen in a while. Welcome to your astrological insights. Hello and welcome back, Cosmic Crew. I'm Stephanie from Immersive Spirit with this week's astrological insights. This week has one of those energy signatures that's going to reward you for slowing down and actually paying attention, because there's two big stories running underneath of everything, and they're talking to each other in a really beautiful way. We've got a new moon in Cancer that's going to ask you what emotional territory you're ready to revisit. And we've got a rare Uranus-Pluto trine that's going to hand you a completely different set of tools to work with while you're in there. So this isn't a week about starting from scratch. It's a week about going back to something familiar and then finally seeing it clearly. We're also moving through the back half of our Mercury retrograde in Cancer. So expect some of the classic, wait, didn't we already deal with this kind of energy, especially around home, family, and everything that makes you feel safe. So let's get into it. Let's start with the first headline, which is our new moon in Cancer on Tuesday at 3:43 a.m. If you're not familiar, a new moon marks the beginning of the lunar cycle. It's the moment the sun and moon come together in the same part of the sky, and astrologically, it functions like a blank page. Whatever sign it falls in points to the area of life that's ready for a fresh chapter. This time, that sign is Cancer. Cancer rules home, family, emotional security, and the parts of ourselves we instinctively protect. So, this isn't a new moon asking you to set some flashy new goal or reinvent your life overnight. It's asking a much quieter question. What do I actually need to feel safe? Now, here's what makes this new moon more layered than usual. Mercury is retrograde in Cancer at the exact same time. Mercury retrograde is that period when the planets appear to move backward from our perspective on Earth. So, astrologically, it tends to bring those old conversations, old relationship, unfinished business, and familiar thought patterns really back around, right? So, not necessarily to repeat those, but to understand them and look at them differently. So, this new moon arrives right in the middle of a revisit before you begin again kind of season. You're probably not being asked to plant something completely new. You're being invited to walk back over familiar emotional ground and notice something that you just couldn't see before. That's where our second headline really comes in, and it's gorgeous. On Friday at 10:43 p.m., Uranus in Gemini forms a trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. A trine is one of the more supportive aspects in astrology, as long as you're acknowledging it. It doesn't force change, it creates conditions where change can happen more naturally for us. Uranus is the planet of breakthroughs, innovation, fresh perspectives, and those lightning bolt moments that completely change the way you think. Pluto works differently. Pluto it transforms them for us at the root, right? It asks us to release old ways of being so that something more authentic can emerge and break through. These two planets often meet through more frictional times. Historically, their interactions tend to coincide with periods of disruption, upheaval, and really, really rapid change. But this time they're working together. So instead of feeling like life is pushing you into transformation, You may notice that insight arrives more easily for you. A conversation may land differently. Maybe an old belief suddenly no longer fits. The shift isn't necessarily loud, but it can be very lasting. So if we put these two stories together, here's what this week is feeling like to me. Cancer and Mercury retrograde hand you an emotional pattern. Uranus and Pluto hand you a new perspective. The circumstances themselves may not have changed, but the way you understand them definitely has. And it's sometimes that's going to be our real breakthrough, right? This week isn't asking you to abandon your story at all. It's inviting you to tell it from a place that you've never stood. And I want you to pay attention to the moments that make you stop and think that I've never looked at it that way before kind of moment, because that may be exactly where this week's astrology is doing its quietest and most profound work. So let's break this down day by day. Monday opens with some friction that's actually useful, even if it doesn't feel comfortable in the moment. Venus in Virgo is going to square Uranus and Gemini early in the morning, which tends to show up as an unexpected shakeup in how you value something, a relationship, your finances, your sense of what enough actually looks like. A square is a challenging aspect. It means two planets are at odds and something has to give. But it's also the aspect most likely to actually move you forward because it won't let you stay comfortable. It's creating that friction. So later in the afternoon, the moon in Cancer will score Saturn in Aries, which can bring up a heavier and more restrictive emotional mood. Maybe it's a moment where you feel like your feelings are running into a wall of responsibility or old rules. By evening, Mercury retrograde in Cancer squares Pallas in Aries, and this is where the day's real theme shows up. Friction between how you're feeling and how you're strategizing your way through it. Pallas is that asteroid associated with wisdom and pattern recognition. So this square can feel like your gut and your strategy are going to be pulling you in two different directions. So don't force a resolution tonight. This is going to set you up more for the days that are coming and what's coming ahead. So highs for Monday, ultimately, it's just a flash of insight on what you actually value. The low on Monday that we really need to look at is that old emotional walls feeling really kind of solid. The tone overall is restless, maybe a little tender. We're sitting with rather than just reacting to. Tuesday, the moon's conjuncting Mercury retrograde in Cancer right after midnight, deepening that my feelings and my thoughts are the same thing today kind of quality. Then at 1:26 a.m., the sun in Cancer squares Vesta in Aries. Vesta is about devotion and our focus, right? Where we focus, our sacred energy. So this can kind of bring up a tug of war between nurturing yourself and then or nurturing something that's outside of yourself. Then at 3:43 a.m., we hit that new moon in Cancer and a great emotional anchor of the week. It's a beautiful day to journal, to sit quietly at home, to let yourself feel whatever comes up without needing to fix it immediately. When the moon enters Leo at 4:35 p.m., the mood shifts noticeably, more expressive, more playful, and by evening, it's making a string of easy connections. Sextile to Uranus, trine to Neptune, and then finally trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius at 11:57 p.m. So, very end of our day. And it's giving you an early taste of that Uranus-Pluto ease that's going to come in fully for us on Friday. Highs Tuesday include a genuinely fresh emotional start, plus an evening mood lift for us all as that moon moves into Leo. The lows include feeling foggy or unmotivated during our longer void of course window. It's normal. Just let it rest. The tone overall is tender in the early hours, warming into something brighter by our evening. Wednesday, that Leo moon keeps things warm and expressive. It sextiles Mars and Gemini late morning, which is a great combo for having an honest, energized conversation or taking playful action on something that you've been sitting on. In the afternoon, Uranus and Gemini sextiles Neptune retrograde in Aries, and it's a gentle, easy flowing aspect between imagination and innovation that can spark a genuinely original idea, almost like your intuition and your logic are finally on the same page. The moon also trines Saturn in Aries, which grounds all that Leo brightness into something you can actually build on rather than just feel good about for a moment. The moon then goes void of course from what the major aspects, right? From what we consider all the major aspects for over a full day. So don't be surprised if the second half of Wednesday and into Thursday feels a little suspended. It's a good stretch to rest, to integrate, let the ideas from earlier in the day settle, rather than rushing to act on them. Their high for today includes a spark of original thinking that actually has staying power for you. It's not really a low kind of day, but another long void of course that can feel directionless. So resist that urge to force momentum. The tone for Wednesday overall is bright, it's curious, and it's unhurried. On Thursday, the moon enters Virgo in early evening, and the shift is palpable. After several days of feeling and expressing, the energies turning toward refining and organizing. Almost immediately, the moon's going to oppose the North Node in Pisces, which can bring up a tension between the practical, detail-oriented path in Virgo and the more surrendered spiritual pull of your longer-term growth direction, right? Which is that North Node in Pisces. And that's kind of representing where you're being asked to evolve, right? Is where we're at in that North Node. So this isn't a conflict to solve tonight. It's more just a note to pay attention. Shortly after, the moon trines Chiron in Taurus, and this is a genuinely tender and healing aspect. Chiron's often referred to as that wounded healer. It's because it's pointing to where we carry old pain that, when tended to, becomes kind of a source of our wisdom for others and how we share with other people in the collective. A Virgo moon trine to Chiron is a gentle invitation to care for yourself in a very grounded and practical way, not through big emotional catharsis, but through small acts of tending. Hi, I'm Stephanie from Immersive Spirit. I hope you're enjoying this week's Astrological Insights podcast. If you find that these dates resonate for you, or you just love astrology, I would love to book a reading with you and just explore your own chart, whether it's a particular location you're interested in, whether it's looking at transits that are coming for you in the future and how there's certain dates that might align better than others. Or maybe it's just knowing more about that beautiful space that you were born into and exactly how the stars aligned just for you at your time of birth. I would be honored to speak with you. Head to immersivespirit.com and look for our services. You'll find several options there waiting for you, and I'll be excited to talk with you and dig into your astrological chart. Now, back to our podcast. Thursday, the high is a quiet sense of healing through small practical self care. Our low is that subtle pull between doing the responsible thing and following our bigger calling. Thursday's tone overall, though, is settling, thoughtful, and a little bit introspective. Friday opens with the moon in Virgo squaring Uranus and Gemini in the very early morning. This can bring a jolt of wait, that's not how I planned this kind of energy right as our day is getting started. Then later, the moon conjuncts Venus in Virgo, and that softened things considerably, bringing focus to what genuinely feels good. And that's genuinely worth caring for. So, this is really a yummy alignment for tending relationships or beautifying your space. Right around the same time, we hit a waxing crescent moon in Virgo, and that's the phase where the intentions planted during our new moon that started earlier in the week start to take their first real shape. So in the afternoon, the moon squares Mars in Gemini, which can bring a burst of restless energy or a small conflict around getting things done efficiently versus getting them done at all. So just kind of be calm with that. But the real headline of our day, Friday, and arguably of our entire week, and maybe one of the bigger aspects of our year, lands late in the evening when Uranus in Gemini is trining Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, and that's at 10:43 p.m. again, Mountain Daylight Time. This is the moment where the new tools part of our theme fully arrives. So whatever old emotional pattern the new moon and Mercury retrograde have had you revisiting, tonight's offering a genuinely different, more expansive way of understanding it. This is generational, structural energy, and you may not feel it as a dramatic personal event, but pay attention to any sudden clarity or a sense that something old has just clicked into place differently, right? And how it feels. Friday's high really brings that rare window of transformation that feels clarifying instead of chaotic. And our low for Friday brings some morning friction between the plans and the surprises. Our tone overall for Friday, though, is a little scattered throughout the day, but man, that evening is going to be super revealing for everybody. Saturday, the Virgo moon is spending the day making easy connections. Sextile to Mercury retrograde in Cancer just after midnight, and sextile to the Sun in Cancer in the afternoon. Both of these are gentle, supportive aspects that make it easier to have grounded, clear conversations about your feelings, especially anything related to home or family that's been circling since Mercury went retrograde a few weeks ago. It's a good day to actually say the thing you've been turning over in your head all week. The moon then goes void, of course, from the more common aspects, right? Our bigger aspects that we think of or that are more common in astrology for about 6.5 hours before entering Libra later in the evening. That's around 10:56 p.m. That transition sets the stage for the relational harmony seeking tone that really closes out our week. Saturday's high, it's clear, easy conversation about something you've been quietly processing. And really, we don't have any lows for Saturday beyond a little bit of restlessness later in the day. The tone Saturday is settled, communicative, and winding down gently. Then on Sunday, our week closes on a harmonious note. Ceres and Gemini sextiles Pallas and Aries early in the morning, and it's a sweet combination between nurturing and strategic wisdom. Then the newly into Libra moon makes a beautiful run of easy aspects. Sextile to Jupiter in Leo, opposition to Neptune retrograde in Aries, trine to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, and trine to Uranus in Gemini. This is all within about 40 minutes of each other in the early morning. It's a lot of planets talking to each other gently all at once, and it makes for a pretty peaceful and awesome way to start and a connective way to close our week out. Good for relationships, good for creative inspiration, and good for feeling all the things, right? So, this is a good opportunity to feel like things are also clicking into place for everybody. The week wraps with Mars and Gemini sextile Saturn and Aries around midday. That supports taking calm, disciplined action on whatever's been stirred up over the past week. It's a fitting way to end after all the emotional excavation and structural transformation we've just been through. Sunday's offering us that integration. Our high for Sunday is a rare morning stretch of nearly all harmonious aspects. Soak it in. We don't have really any significant lows, so if anything, watch for a tendency to want to rush past the calm. Just embrace that and enjoy that calm and harmonious morning. It's peaceful, connected, a feeling of quiet resolution for our tone. So as we zoom out, and I've butchered my way through this a little bit, there's one thing I would want you to take from this week. You don't have to choose between honoring your history and embracing something new. The new moon in Cancer and the Mercury retrograde are asking you to go back to something familiar. It's a feeling, a relationship, a version of home. And then that Uranus-Pluto trine is handing you a genuinely different lens to see it through. One that's expansive, it's clear, and for once, it's not going to be destabilizing. So it's old story, new tools. That's our week. So here's what I want to ask you, Cosmic Crew. What's one old emotional pattern you're being asked to revisit this week? And what would it look like to meet that with a completely fresh perspective instead of the same old response? So think about that. What would it look like for you to meet that old emotional pattern with a completely fresh perspective this week instead of the same old response? I'd love to read your answers in the comments below. Please share, and please share this channel with whoever you know that could use it, or other star fans, people who love to be involved with the astrology of the day and see just what's happening in general with our beautiful, beautiful universe. You're also welcome to jump into our town square. It is free for 30 days, and you can take advantage of everything that we do, right? We've got multiple live workshops every month. This week, or yeah, by joining right now, you would be included in a group Reiki session starting in the beginning of August as well. So that's all free with your 30-day trial. All the daily prompts, journal prompts, an amazing community that's got awesome feedback, free content, big discounts on our services. All of those different things are included, and that's at immersive-spirit.com. We'd love to see you there. And that's it for this week. It's a lot. It was a busy day today, so you're catching all the energy as I'm winding down from the caffeine potentially too. So with that, I will bid adieu to an amazing week ahead. I'm Stephanie from Immersive Spirit, and with your weekly astrological insights. Until next week, stay grounded and keep looking up.